How do you correctly write and passant in chess notation? Imagine you're in the middle of a game and suddenly, a pawn makes a quick dash past your pawn, as if it's trying to sneak by. How do you record that move so it's clear and correct? That's where end passant notation comes into play. In chess notation, every move is written down to keep track of what happens on the board. The system used is called algebraic notation, and it's the standard way players record their moves. Each square on the chessboard has a letter from A to H for the columns, called files, and a number from 1 to 8 for the rows, called ranks. Pieces are represented by initials: R for rook, N for knight, B for bishop, Q for queen, K for king, and pawns are not given initials unless they're capturing. Now, end passant is a special pawn capture that only happens under specific circumstances. When an opponent's pawn moves 2 squares forward from its starting position and lands beside your pawn, you have the option to capture it as if it had only moved 1 square. To record this move correctly, you need to note a few things. First, identify the pawn that is capturing by writing the file letter of that pawn's starting square. For example, if your pawn on e5 captures a pawn that just moved from e7 to e5, you start with the letter E. Next, you write the destination square, which is the square the capturing pawn moves to diagonally. In this case, it would be e6. But here's the key part. Because it's an end passant capture, you add x to show it's a capture and then write ep at the end. So the full notation for that move would be e5x6 ep. The x indicates a capture and the ep tells everyone that it was an end passant move. This notation makes it clear that the pawn didn't land on the square where the opponent's pawn ended up, but instead captured it as it passed through. Remember, end passant can only be done immediately after your opponent moves a pawn 2 squares forward, and only on the very next move. If you wait too long, the chance to record it correctly is gone. Using this notation properly is important for keeping accurate records, especially when analyzing games later. It also helps other players understand exactly what happened during the game. So, next time you see a pawn dash past another, you'll know how to write it down as e5x6 ep and keep your game records precise and clear.